Hey, so wherever you are in the world today, I welcome you to this week's, episode, segment. I haven't quite worked out what that terminology is, but anyway, the art of impeccable soul care. And one of the things that has become so important to me, and not just sharing the ancient practices, but the reminder that beings from the other side are always present and working on our behalf, and that we can communicate with them, whether you call them spirit guides or helpers or allies, your counsel, I call them my cosmic counsel, or the angelic realm. They matter and they exist. And in this earth reality, we function on money, monetary wealth. And my guest today, Corin Grillo, is, I think, an angel connecting expert. And most recently, she has written a book called Angel Wealth Magic: Simple Steps to Hire the Divine and Unlock Your Miraculous Financial Flow. So let's dive in. Welcome, Corin.
Thank you. It's so great to be here. Thanks for having me, Teri.
Oh, thanks for coming back. We talked for a second. You had joined me right when the Angel experiment was just launched. Mm-hmm. And that was amazing for me because it was COVID-y, and I had the opportunity to dive deeper into connecting with the divine, the angelic realm. So we're going to recap that just a teeny bit here before we dive in. I want the listeners to know how you began working with the angelic realm and why Angel Wealth Magic.
Yes. Well, I started working with the angel realm accidentally. It was nothing I was planning to do, but I essentially witnessed a miracle brought on by angels and became essentially an instant believer. And from that moment, from that first miracle to now, it's essentially, from my perspective, been a series of miracles. So I was a traditional psychotherapist. I was not particularly religious. I've always kind of, dabbled in, I love spiritual things per se. I've been open to them, but I just really didn't know how potent and real angels were and how they could really support us in transitioning out of some pretty severe darkness, which was what I was in for the first several decades of my life, into a life that is really kind of full of wonder and magic and literal miracles. Not to discount the fact that life still happens. It's not always all peachy, but back then, my prayer before I met the angels, my primary prayer was, and when I'd wake up in the morning was, let this day be my last day, because I suffered with deep depression and all of that stuff. And over the years, in working with the angels, that changed significantly. Yeah,
significantly. Going from that place of darkness to, I almost want to say, hallelujah light, because it must feel like that at times, because you're, celebrating this deep connection and you have such faith in the collaboration with them.
Yes, and it's not because it's blind faith. It's because miracles are real, and I myself didn't know that before I witnessed one. And then so when I saw that one, it was like, well, if that's possible when working with spirit, working with angels, what else is possible? So yeah, that's the primary thing that I after I made a transition from being a licensed psychotherapist over to being an angel enthusiast and like an angel ambassador, because people need to know that we're not alone. First of all, you don't have to necessarily be religious in order to experience the support and love that is there for us, especially at a time like this on the planet where things are just so weird. It's like we need to get armed up with all the things possible, like whatever it is, like get armed up with it and learn how to hack the system.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I love, so listeners, in the book, Corin talks a lot about you don't necessarily have to call it angels. It's whatever you call that communication to beings on the other side, right? The divine, your spirit allies. Like I said, I call them my cosmic council. And yet I do call them angels. And I'm so thankful for their unending support and guidance. Even when I am not trusting that they're there, I know they are
Mm-hmm.
in my heart, in my
Mm-hmm.
soul.
Yeah. And it could take, it could take a while, you know, it could take a while, or it really doesn't have to take that long. But I think a lot of folks have thrown out the baby with the bathwater, meaning they've gotten so turned off by religions that they just shut down the very notion that anything was real. And I know I had, in a way, like I was always open to the possibility, but I didn't really know.
Yeah.
So yeah. As real as they are, what I've seen is people from all over the world, no matter what religion they grew up with, can engage this beautiful force of allies. And we know,
Yeah.
you know, angels, the word can, you can call it whatever you want, as long as we, in a way, open up our mind a little bit and invite them in and learn how to do that in powerful ways. Amazing things can happen.
Well, yeah. And you had an extremely powerful shift. When you decided, or when you had a shift, you had an experience that inspired you to create this work and to dive deeper. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Well,
For angel wealth magic, you had a magical moment, a miraculous moment that showed up, and you were like, "Oh my God, I need to share this. I need to do something with this."
Yes. Well, during COVID, during COVID, I reduced my hours from working because both my kids were at home. And so I was like, okay, what's a good way to offset? Oh, I know. I'm going to do some angel magic and see if I can do some wealth magic, some money magic. So I went into my resources and did some research on classical angels, angels that ancient magicians have worked with for centuries, 1,000 years, even longer. And so I looked at some of the traditional ones. I made my own connection with them and asked, would you fit in? So I created my own 11-day wealth ritual. And within 2 weeks, and I asked for an extraordinary amount of cash. It was something that I just thought like totally impossible, but this is what I need right now in order so I don't have to like worry about that segment of my business. And so I did. And so, yeah, it manifested. And I was so blown away. I couldn't believe it. I was talking to my husband, like, can you believe, like, we couldn't believe it. And so, and because I told him, I'm going to do some wealth magic. Hopefully it works. So I don't have to worry about that part of my business or doing that particular launch. And yeah, so after that happened, I decided, wow, okay, this miracle probably for me, my sense wasn't just for me. It was so I could, in a sense, get lit up and inspired to share even wealth magic with folks, because I know a lot of spiritual folks have maybe some judgments on money per se, and is it too ridiculous to ask spirit for money? And I'm here to say no, it's definitely not too ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that you talk about is that it is an ancient practice, and that our great ancestors from thousands and thousands of years ago, before religion was even a thing, worked in this way, whether it was to grow the fields and the crops or, work with their communities in some way. It's an ancient practice. And in our society, that abundance and that necessity is money. We cannot function without it. Mm-hmm. And we don't need to suffer. We can have more than we need. We can have what we desire. And we have a team to help us.
Yeah, we do. But again, it's like, it's one of those things you'd have to try in order to prove it out, almost like an experiment, right? But yes, I believe that magic and wealth magic is as old as humans are. It's just back in the day, we didn't have any preconceived, there wasn't any judgment against magical practices back then. So we were freely, and all of our ancestors, no matter where we're from on the planet, knew how to work this kind of magic. We all knew how to work with benevolent forces. We all knew about ritual and the power of a ritual. And even if, whether it's talking to ancestors or, talking to mountains or talking to whatever, the world was alive back then. And the only thing that changed was our perspective. But I'm here to say the world is still alive. And the more that we kind of open our eyes to that reality and start getting back into that root of our own magic, the cooler and the more magical life becomes.
Yeah, well, and I love how you have the book broken down. You have it broken down into really two parts, and you do a lot of explanation in part one with some specific guidance on how to prepare for this 11-day ritual and how to get yourself kind of clear of anything that you have, your blocks, you call them your wealth blocks, your belief blocks, right? And how to work with that to release it and to clear your energy and be more inviting, and to get clear on maybe why you have these blocks, going deeper and deeper and deeper. And you give great tools on that. Let's share with the listeners just a couple of the tools, things that might be blocking us from standing in our connection to wealth and bringing that magic in.
Right. Well, there's a variety of things that kind of stop us from dreaming bigger. Or believing that magic is possible for us, or different things are possible. So because I am a psychotherapist and I work with a lot of people with their spiritual businesses, sometimes in helping them kind of move past the ceiling and dream differently about the work that they're doing, dream bigger about the work that they're doing. What I found over the years is that a lot of people carry similar things, whether I'm working with really successful people, even people who are, CEOs or millionaires, or people who are just kind of starting out. A lot of us kind of carry some of this crap from our maybe belief systems from our ancestors or from our families, or maybe we feel less than because of our own personal history. And so in the book, it was really important for me to add in practices to help this 11-day ritual that I put together stick more. Because if our unconscious mind is not fully on board with what we're doing, things, we might still sabotage ourselves. And speaking of sabotage, that's actually one of the things that I talk about is self-sabotage and what that is and where it might come from. And I also talk about the power of shame and how shame is like one of those things you don't think of when it comes to maybe having your own business or growing a business or changing careers that aligns with your heart and soul, or charging more for your healing practice or whatever. A lot of us carry shame, and that keeps us smaller than it keeps our game a lot smaller than what it could be. And we assume maybe it's just because I'm shy, or maybe it's just, maybe I don't want to do little video things because I'm shy and I just don't like to be seen. But really, is it that, or is it unconscious shame that's still puppeting our beliefs and about who we are and why we are?
Yeah, shame can be such a killer to your energy. I don't like to use that word killer, but it is. I mean, shame can get in the way of so many things. And the process that you use, your listeners, you definitely have to get the book to see the process. Okay. If you're watching the video, you'll see I show a picture of the book, Angel Wealth Magic. You have to get the book in order to appreciate the work that's leads up to the 11 days. And the questions that you inspire the readers and listeners to ask of themselves can really be used in other aspects of your life. And you can come back to them, even when it's around the wealth management, wealth magic, that you can come back to these questions. Let's say you achieve your goal, your intention, and now you have another place you'd like to visit. You come back to these questions and dig deep to figure out whether it is shame or, where those genetic beliefs, the DNA, the ancestral beliefs came in that are stopping you from being in this moment.
Right. And yeah, just unconsciously stopping you from moving past that next thing. So yeah, in the book, we address some of these major demons that we have going on that block us, that are wealth. I call them wealth blockers in the book. And there are specific practices. And I even give angels to help shake things up. So angels to help rebuild confidence, to help with leadership, to help you with magnetism or feeling magnetic, to help your voice get amplified, those kinds of things. So it's not all just angels of making money. It's angels of what about the skill sets and the internal skill set that you need in order to sustain wealth as well, which is things like more confidence. Yeah.
Yeah, well, there are angels in the book that I had never heard of before. And I thought to myself, I want to work with all of them at one time. I want to just bring them into my council and have each one just have my back and be able to reach out to them. So we're going to take a break right here for just a second. And when we come back, I want to dive a little bit deeper into some of the angels that you work with in the group, and in the book, and then a little bit of what to expect in the 11-day process. Okay?
Great.
Okay, thanks.
Sounds
We'll be
great.
right back, listeners. Hey, and welcome back, Corin. Let's jump into a little bit of part 2 of Angel Wealth Magic. I have to tell you a funny story. Just before the book came into my hands, I made a conscious decision on an amount that I wanted to make between now and April of 23. And I'm like, well, how am I going to do that? And then lo and behold, Angel Wealth Magic popped into my lap. Simple steps to hire the divine and unlock your miraculous financial flow. So thank you for that.
Wow. Ask and you shall receive. Yes, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you do know. You know over and over and over again.
I know. It's mind blowing. Seriously, it is mind blowing the results that people have already had with the book and with the process. And yeah, it just, it's done already some pretty cool things. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things that you and I were talking about is you have many different angels in here, and some of them I've never heard of before, and that they all are here to help with other things beyond money per se, right? That some of the emotions or the experiences that are associated with those wealth blockers. Mm-hmm. And I really did feel like I wanted to just call all of them in and say, okay, can we all just start like together as a posse and a team? But even the first one, and I like how you say this is how you pronounce it, not necessarily that it's right or wrong, but they still come through no matter how you pronounce it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the first one was Eladia. Is that how you say it?
That's how I see it. Yeah.
Yeah. Eladia. Spiritual and material abundance. To me, that felt like Eladia needs to be one of your foundational people that you work with before you jump into the 11 days. So you can get clear.
Yeah, well, everybody's going to be drawn to different ones. Like Eladia also supports with blocking negative energy, negative responses, especially to the work that you do. So a lot of people unconsciously don't want to expand their wealth because they're afraid people are going to, hate on them or I don't know, try and take advantage of them. So that angel is really great as far as it doesn't just support your wealth, but also helps you kind of have boundaries against negative energy. So that's kind of like a fun 1-2 punch just in one angel. But if a lot of those angels have different qualities. It's not just about wealth attraction. But the 11-day ritual itself, it's set up very specifically as far as how we're kind of unwrapping the gift of making yourself even more magnetic towards good things. And when I say wealth, I don't mean just money. It can also help you attract more resources, or even have a deeper sense of connection and help you feel a lot better about your financial situation as well. So I have angels throughout the book that can help you in a way detox from old financial trauma, or trauma that you're projecting into the future, and help you really anchor into the present so that you can harvest a more fuller potential.
I love that word detox. And I think that that's a word that many people can associate with where they are, that they do need a detox. And I'm not supposed to necessarily say date and time on my podcast, but yet, we're in December. We're coming up on a new year. What a perfect opportunity to work with the angelic realm to bring in more shifts and more magic, whether it's materialistic or spiritual. We need that right now, especially if we're moving into that new year.
Yes. I mean, it's a great time. I mean, every time of the year is a great time.
It is a great time
to just remember, in particular, remember that we have support. So those moments where we start feeling kind of disconnected or alone, or how are we going to get ourselves through this, like I did with during COVID, and I wanted to really be there for my kids. It's like, oh no, oh wait, I have resources. I have invisible resources. I call them my invisible posse. So I have resources. Yes. But it's important for us to kind of all year round to dream big, but this time of year is a really good time for it.
It just feels so magical, because and I know it's a human thing, time is really a human thing. But it just feels so magical to be able to kind of finish off the year with a practice that really teaches you how to embody it and expand on that connection.
Yes. And I think that is so important when you talk about embodiment, because in this particular book, I do set up some practices so that you can actually feel and experience the shift of energy that happens when you call on these specific angels. So it's, for me, I love creating personal relationships, especially as I encounter new angels. So it's like, okay, what else do you do that they didn't, write about, or that nobody knows? What else do you do? Mm-hmm. And so developing your intuition over time kind of comes with the process as well. Learning how to trust your intuition, your inner guidance. And when you're in a pinch, knowing how to ask for support.
Yeah. Well, and you even talk about channeling, how to channel the wisdom of that connection. And so many people don't realize that that's available to them. They think that they have to be some special person, and yet anybody can do it. And you provide such a beautiful example, an easy tool to be able to reinforce that.
Yes. I mean, I think more and more people need to realize who we are as far as conduits. Like, we are all channels. We're channels. We are channeling all the time. It's just many of us aren't aware of that. So these inspirations that you get, or these positive thoughts, or, when you're in a pinch and all of a sudden you have this great idea, where is that really coming from? And so the more that we acknowledge the fact that we are kind of bound in this relationship with the spirit world and the physical world, it's like, the more that we empower ourselves to gain access to deeper wisdom inside of ourselves and deeper solutions, whether it's a new marketing strategy or, how to work with your kids a little, better, or work with your financial situation, your business, or whatever it is that you're working on. But we all have these gifts inside of us, and I don't even consider them gifts as much as I consider them like arms and legs. They're just appendages. We're here. So we have clairvoyance. We can hear the truth. We can feel spirit. We can feel these energetic pulses of big yeses where like spirit is almost giving us an applause, like go forward. Yes, do that idea. But because we're so full of doubt and no one ever taught us really how to listen to the positive voice, or told us about our ability to be able to tap into other amazing beings or realities and channel directly from spirit. So part of my work is actually training people in intuition and things like that, because I'm so passionate about that, because without my own and without learning how to trust some of my own guidance, how else are we going to break our own ceilings or shatter the glass ceilings in our lives if we don't learn how to trust that awesome voice in there instead of always listening to the tyrannical one?
Yeah. Yes. And then we can really embody it. Like like we were saying, then you can embody it and you become that, walking, talking, trusting person, just like you're seeing out of your eyes and, the sense of your nose. It's just a natural part of who you really are. So with the 11-day rituals, let's give the listeners a little bit of an idea of what to expect. So each day they're going to be connecting with an angel or a couple of angels, and then they'll have specific guidance during each ritual.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And when we say ritual, it's really simple. Essentially, it's sitting down in like a 5 or 10 minute meditation. In the book, I also give you the opportunity to download the actual audios. So if you're more, if you want to actually listen in, then I guide you through those processes. Or you can just, I have them also written in the book. You can do them yourselves. But it really is just about going inward and inviting them in and, asking for the shift that we're asking you to ask for on each specific day. And each day is different and addresses a different slice of the wealth pie, if you will.
Yeah. And gives you an opportunity to dive even deeper and become more closely connected to your intention. And you're really clear about that. You are very clear about the invocation of the intention that you want, that you want to create in your life, which I thought was beautiful, that you actually give the verbiage for it. And I love that you have the audios available, because it's kind of hard sometimes to read and then do. And it's so much nicer to be able to listen. I really, really appreciated that aspect of it. Okay, let's wrap this up with, you are specific with there's angels and there's archangels, right? Overall, what are the angels and what do they mean to you?
Okay, so the angels are in a simple word, messengers. That's what they're classically known as. Messengers come in a variety of different shapes and sizes. So, I could write a book about animals and say that they're also messengers, right? They're also angels, or the ancestors or, things like that. So angels for me are, in a way, some of the secret keys to living a thriving life that feels connected to your heart and feels connected to life itself. And from that overly abundant ability for us to deepen into ourselves. And when I say ourselves, I mean our most essential self, like our inside of our heart. They can help us activate our mission and then live from a deep place of trust and honor. But fundamentally, angels are there to show us how we're not alone, and we've never been alone. And whatever it is that we want, we get to ask for support from our invisible family. So I guess angels are family to me today.
Oh, I love that. And if you could give the listeners one thought to take out into the day to begin to connect, besides buying your book, of course, right? Angel Wealth Magic. No, if you could leave the listeners with one thought that they can take into the day to begin that connection? One tool, what would that be?
The phrase, and I have this one phrase in there, but the first phrase I'm hearing for your audience is for them to know that magic is your birthright and that it's natural. And the more that you allow this reality to be real for you, the more that your eyes and your life will experience it. So they're asking you to ask Spirit, to ask your angels to show you magic, to show you real magic, and to show you what's possible with magic. But they're also asking you to slow down and to really look and perceive what's happening in your life, all of those synchronicities or any moments of epiphany or lightness. Even they're saying, even in hearing our talk today, you might feel more peace or might a little more peace or a little more comfort. They're saying that that's the influence of angels. So they're saying, notice the small things. And then the more that you notice those, slow down and notice the small levels of support that you're receiving, the more that you can open up even more towards the big ones, the big miracles.
That was beautiful. Thank you so much. Okay, so if you were standing in front of me, I would want to give you a great big angel hug.
Oh, that sounds so good.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here with me, Corin. Listeners, again, this is a conversation with Corin Grillo. You can find all of her information here on the Art of Impeccable Soul Care page, as well as visiting CorinGrillo.com, CorinGrillo.com. She has Facebook and Instagram. You can find her on social media, and she really does have some amazing resources. They have helped me tremendously over the past few years. I'm really appreciative of that. So thank you, Corin.
Oh, thank you, Teri.
I'll see you soon.
Yes. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you.